the 1.4 billion Hindus, and also because we want to create a strong, sustainable future for the 4 million Hindus in the United States.
And what about the Hindu young generations who are born and brought up there? How much they are connected, and is HIF doing anything to keep them in the fold?
Yeah,
if I may say so.
I think there's two parts to the answer. One is that generally around the world, more and more people are not wanting to practice some organized religion, more and more identifying as atheists. So we have the same trends as other communities. We're not immune to that.
നമസ്കാരം, കൂടിക്കാഴ്ചയിലേക്ക് സ്വാഗതം. ഇന്ന് കൂടിക്കാഴ്ചയിൽ നമ്മളോടൊപ്പം ഉള്ളത് ഒരു വിശിഷ്ടാതിഥിയാണ്. അത് ഭാരതത്തിന് പുറത്തു നിന്ന്, അമേരിക്കയിൽ നിന്ന്, യു എസിൽ നിന്നുള്ള ഒരു വിശിഷ്ടാതിഥി, ഡോക്ടർ മിഹിർ മെഘാനി. ഡോക്ടർ മിഹിർ ഒരു മെഡിക്കൽ പ്രാക്ടീഷണർ മാത്രമല്ല, ഒരു സാമൂഹിക പ്രവർത്തകനുമാണ്. അദ്ദേഹം അമേരിക്കയിലെ ഹിന്ദു അമേരിക്കൻ ഫൗണ്ടേഷൻ, അമേരിക്കയിലെ തന്നെ ഏറ്റവും വലിയ ഹിന്ദു ഓർഗനൈസേഷൻസ്, ഹിന്ദു സംഘടനകളിലൊന്നായ ഹിന്ദു അമേരിക്കൻ ഫൗണ്ടേഷൻ്റെ ഫൗണ്ടറാണ്, സ്ഥാപക അംഗമാണ്, ഡയറക്ടർ ബോർഡിലുള്ള ആളുമാണ്. അദ്ദേഹം അമേരിക്കയിലെ ഹിന്ദു ആക്ടിവിറ്റീസിനെ കുറിച്ച്, അവിടെ ഹിന്ദു സമൂഹം നേരിടുന്ന വിഷയങ്ങളെക്കുറിച്ച്, അതെങ്ങനെ അതിന് ഉള്ള പരിഹാരങ്ങളെക്കുറിച്ചൊക്കെ വളരെ വിശദമായിട്ട് നമ്മളോട് സംസാരിക്കും. ഡോക്ടർ മിഹിർ, താങ്ക് യു സോ മച്ച് ഫോർ ബീയിങ് വിത്ത് us today. I know that you are vacationing in India for the last 2-3 months. So thank you for taking off time for us and have this conversation with us. So to start our conversation, can you briefly tell us about Hindu American Foundation, what you are doing, what is your focal areas, things like that, just in brief.
Absolutely. The Hindu American Foundation is a 23-year-old non-profit organization in the United States that's registered with the US government as a group whose focus is to educate the American public about Hinduism, Hindu issues, and the Hindu people in the United States and around the world, and also to inspire Hindus and organize Hindus so that they can better represent themselves
Right.
in front of their elected officials, in front of journalists, and to their friends and neighbors. And we do that through creating resources for people to use. For example, resources on why Kashmir has been an integral part of India, or what the effect of terrorism is, or why fraudulent conversion is bad. And it's also by empowering people to directly talk to their elected officials, and also just in general creating more awareness, more unity, working with other Hindu organizations. A broad scope of work, but a lot of important work, because we are fundamentally inspired by our civilization of 5,000 plus years, the 1.4 billion Hindus, and also because we want to create a strong, sustainable future for the 4 million Hindus in the United States.
Okay. Can you briefly tell us about the background when you felt that there is a need for an organization like Hindu American Foundation? Because there are so many ethnic communities, so many people from different nations working and living, towards fulfilling their American dream. So what was the need for such an organization based on Hindu culture?
In 2003, when the Hindu American Foundation started, we did not have an organization that represented Hindus to the outside world. We had many temples, we had swamis with followings in the US, many gurus, groups that focused on education in India or healthcare in India or poverty alleviation. But the question is, when we are one of the oldest civilizations in the world, the third largest religion in the world, why didn't we have a group that could speak to the other Americans about who we are? We weren't organized in that way. We didn't have a forum like the Catholic Church that had thousands and maybe hundreds of thousands of staff to speak about Catholicism to the outside, or Saudi Arabia, which would represent Muslims. So the Hindu American Foundation was formed in that atmosphere where there was a void. There was nobody speaking to America's federal, state, and local officials on behalf of Hindus specifically. On behalf of Hindus from India, Hindus of Indian origin born in the US, and the 500,000 non-Indian Hindus in the US, like white Hindus, like the actress Julia Roberts, and many others who are followers of different gurus. So that's the atmosphere we formed in.
Is Hindu religion a growing religion in the United States as of today? Is it?
Yeah, absolutely. We're growing
beyond the Indian origin people.
Yeah, it is. There are millions of people now who are following some aspect of Hindu way of life, whether it's yoga, it's meditation, or it's some school of Hindu dharma, or the devotees of some guru. Now, many of those people may not directly identify as Hindu,
Being a Hindu,
but what they're doing, worshipping Ganesh, practicing Shivananda yoga, or practicing Ayurveda. Some are into like specific aspects of Hinduism, like Tantra, or they're into art of living, Sri Ravi Shankar, or they're students of the philosophy, or they've realized that the religion they were in before is not adequate because it doesn't accept other traditions. So they become Hindu in thought because they realize that Hinduism is the religion that will accept many paths because there are many individuals. There are other people who are also Hindu because Hinduism is the only religion with a female divinity.
Exactly.
So there are many people, more than 4 million who identify as Hindu, but many more who are Hindu, but they're not wearing a Hindu card on their shirt because their entry wasn't because they were converted into Hinduism, but they adopted Hinduism without being forced to say they're Hindu, without a ceremony.
Okay. And what about the Hindu young generations who are born and brought up there? How much they are connected, and is HIF doing anything to keep them in the fold, if I may say so?
I think there's two parts to the answer. One is that generally around the world, more and more people are not wanting to practice some organized religion, more and more identifying as atheists. So we have the same trends as other communities. We're not immune to that. Now, having said that, there are people like me and others, founders of the Hindu American Foundation, who 50 years ago, roughly, were born in the US and who've retained Hinduism, retained Hindu identity, and developed a deep reverence for India. So there is a segment like us. There's another segment that culturally or in some mild way feel they're part of this great culture or civilization, religion. But ultimately it comes to the parents. If the parents instill a sense of pride in being Hindu, a practice and an understanding of a Hindu's place in the world, and what's the benefit of the Hindu way of life and the Hindu thought of the world, how it breeds harmony, then you'll find those children will tend to be more confident about being Hindu. But if the parents didn't instill that, then it's very easy for children to get lost into other ideologies or not feel that this is an important
that
part
happens
of their
in
life.
India too.
Yes,
it's universal.
Yeah.
It's universal.
Yeah.
So coming back to your HIF, your activities. I mean, one activity or one project that gained a lot of traction even in the media was your stand on caste-based legislations. So for us, while sitting in India, we know that caste is a very it's a social evil. Yeah. It has actually done more damage to Hinduism than other people.
Yeah.
So don't you feel that HIF in some way was supporting this kind of caste-based this thing while opposing a law that is aimed at curbing caste differences?
Yeah, our view on Hinduism is that we are a religion that provides opportunity for everyone to find truth or God or their path. It could be anyone from any community who identifies with any religion, any last name, any place of birth, any skin color, any gender. So we don't have those differences. And in the US, we Hindus don't have caste-based discrimination, let alone discriminating based on any other category. So
true.
When legislation came to the United States, that it was proposed that there should be caste-based legislation, we said this is an anti-Hindu thing because the narratives of those groups were all about destroying Hinduism, and not just destroying Hinduism, but destroying India as a country and a civilization. So,
Showing us in bad light.
yeah, the narratives of the people who promoted this was that India should be broken up, that India was a land of hatred and inequality, a land where Christians are persecuted or Muslims are persecuted, where India was occupying places like Kashmir, and so we could see through those narratives. And while we all stand for equality, there was no need to have a specific legislation on caste because, number one, there has not been any case of prosecution of discrimination based on caste in the whole United States. Number one. Second, there already are existing laws that prevent discrimination based on a variety of categories. And courts have ruled that ancestry, which is a protected category in the United States, includes all the different words for things that are related to ancestry.
Okay.
Things like tribe, creed, color, ethnic descent, nation of origin, they can all come under ancestry.
Okay.
And so any attempt to just put caste into law in America would be an attack on Hindus itself, because caste is only associated with Hinduism in America, not with other religions, not by any sort of actual fact, but because of the propaganda of people who want to destroy Sanatana.
So HIF perceived this caste discrimination law not actually aimed at ending some discrimination, but it was actually aimed at Hindus as a community and Hinduism as a religion.
That's absolutely right. And in fact, people, the whole Indian community, whether they're Christian, Muslim, Hindu, atheist, would have all faced a negative effect of this, because what would have happened is that people are not going to ask in employment. They're not going to ask a white person or an African American or a Chinese American what their caste is, but they would come to the Indian and ask that. And caste is only a legal category in South Asian countries. It's not a legal category in America. So there's no way somebody would be able to ascertain what caste I am, because I don't have a caste. I don't have a legal category. I don't have a lineage that I can trace it back to. But everyone would have been asked that question, whether they're Christian or Muslim. And so it would have divided our community. Thankfully, in multiple times, in multiple places in the country, these proposals have been defeated.
Yeah. No country or no state has passed this law so far.
Yeah, no state and no federal government has passed it. Seattle has passed a law in the city, but not elsewhere in the country.
I understand that this propaganda and this campaign started in the universities of United States. So, do you think that there was an organized effort that led to this legislation? I mean, an organized effort aimed at India and Indians.
Yeah, every few years, there's an organized attempt led by radical, extremist academics and activists that seek to divide the Indian and Hindu community in the US, and also seek to attack India in some way. This was just one example of it. There are other examples right now. There are groups that are trying to say that Khalistan should be a separate nation, that Sikhs are closer to Pakistan and Islam than they are to Indians and Sanatan Dharma, for example. Previously, there were attempts to discredit anything good that the Indian government did. There were attempts to make terrorists in India who killed innocent people in the Mumbai attacks and others look like they were martyrs for an important cause. So these things happen every few years, and they're led by a small group of extreme, and I'm going to, I don't want to get into Indian politics, but these are Marxists. These are people who self-identify in the US as supporters of communist and Marxist parties. They lead these attempts to break up India and our community, and it has a negative impact because there are no forces like this in the Chinese American community, in the African American community. These people are within our community, but they're attacking us from within.
How do you, obviously the challenge is not over just because these laws are not passed.
Yeah.
The challenges still remain, and the forces, they will keep on trying. How do you perceive the threat in the future, and how are you planning to counter it?
Yeah, I think that I'm going to answer in two parts. One is we take a very broad civilizational view. Our civilization of 5,000 plus years has been sustained because every year we've had people who've defended Hinduism, either with their life or by giving all their time, energy,
Exactly.
money. And that's why we are now the largest ancient civilization still remaining.
That's
All other religions and civilizations have been killed or converted, and Jews are there, but they are less than 20 million. We are 1.4 billion. So we look at that broad view that everything we do is something that will need to keep happening. We're never going to defeat the forces of adharma and evil. It's not going to happen. There was Ram and Krishna came as avatars, and we'll have avatars in the future, right? So even though we had the greatest of saints and warriors, that's going to happen. So what we're doing in the short run is we want to create an institution that will continue to fight on past the lives of the founders like me. If you look at RSS, it's now in the 100th centenary. When it was founded, there may have been visions in Dr. Hedgewar's mind of what it could become, but nobody would be able to envision the impact it would have today. But it had to be done. And we're looking at the Hindu American Foundation similarly, that if we can create an institution that has the tools and resources, such as money and the right people leading it, who know the work that needs to get done and develops relationships with those American institutions of government, the education system, media, that need to be influenced so that they understand our community and Hinduism properly, then we can create something that will continue to have an impact, because the battles will never end. They just be in different places with different topics. We have to ever remain vigilant anywhere in the world we are, and we have to keep giving back to the community. And what we are telling people is that everybody should give 10% of their time, energy, and their income, financial resources, to Hindu causes.
Exactly.
Because we don't have a law like many churches do or the Muslim communities do of giving X amount.
Yeah.
We leave everything to ourselves. So if we want to practice dharma, we have to make that conscious decision to do something for our next generation and to honor our ancestors. And that's what HF is encouraging.
True. Is there any, if I say that there's a hinduphobia or efforts to whip up hinduphobia in the United States, will you agree with that?
Yes, absolutely. We face anti-Hindu hate from two ends of the spectrum. One is from the extreme left liberals who want to destroy Hinduism, and most of those activists come from Marxist and communist ideologies in India. They're ingrained in universities in the US in liberal arts. So that's one. And then from the right side of America's social political spectrum, it comes from extreme conservative fundamentalist Christians who don't see that anyone except a Christian from their church is going to heaven, and who feel like it's their job to pass derogatory statements and against other religions, denigrate other religious figures and Hindu gods in particular, and who feel like in their worldview there's no room for anyone else except their own religious segment. So we face it from both sides, and that makes our work interesting, but also very, very challenging.
When before Donald Trump came into presidency, we also felt from here that even the ruling class, they were left of center, and they were against all that is related to Hindu and Hindu culture. And we thought that with the Trump administration taking over, things will change. But things actually went for the worse. So how do you explain that? And there are so many people of Indian origin in the administration. But still, the relation with India has taken a nosedive. And also Hindu activists are also being targeted. So how do you feel about that? How do you explain it?
I'd say that America is right now in a very interesting place and time. And what I would tell people in India is that people in Bharat should be feeling extremely lucky and proud that they have a central government that's stable, that's being able to implement long-term policy and changes and narratives that have some consistency, so you can see the progress. But unfortunately, in the United States, we actually have a very divided society. There are only two political parties, so we don't have that diversity of views. When one party comes into office, the other party will oppose
everything.
Initiatives of that first party, and we don't have all the segments of the government, meaning the presidency, the United States Senate, the United States House of Representatives, and the United States Supreme Court, all seeing things the same way. So there's very little continuity every 4 years after a new federal election, and actually even let alone every 2 years when there's a congressional election. We don't see any continuity. And so what we're seeing right now is a chaos in government. President Trump is shaking things up. The
Virtually
ideology he
shaking.
has is not something that we can say is a Republican ideology from before, or it's something totally new. And I think that the government of India has become very, very good at managing relations with a variety of nations, regardless of who's in power. So, from what we see, this current government of India, Prime Minister Modi, Jai Shankar, they are maintaining good relations with Arab and Muslim countries,
Yes.
with the United States, with Asian countries, and they have a very fine balancing act because they have to deal with China, Pakistan, Bangladesh as the countries, aggressive countries in the neighborhood, but globally they're very respected. And so, in some sense, at the Hindu American Foundation, we're not focused as much on the India-US relationship because the government of India can handle that. But we're focused on the United States Hindu American relationship.
Okay.
And I would say that it wasn't like that long time back. The Indian government before was not very good at managing the US-India relationship. So we had to step in. Now we don't have to do it because the Indian government can handle it. But the next decade will be challenging for all of us in the US because we don't know what the next government is going to be. We don't know what the next India-US relationship will be. We don't know how Hindu Americans will be looked at. And the challenges that we face there are that many people in the United States don't understand the forces in the US that impact us abroad, like Islamist jihadi forces in the United States and how they support terrorism abroad. They don't understand how churches in the United States might be contributing to what we call predatory proselytization, which is conversion based on force, fraud, conversion, or unethical means. So we have to keep doing our work, but I will say we've made tremendous progress in 23 years, and even before HEF started by the work of many Sangh Karyakartas in the United States in the 20th century. So we have to keep working, and it's never going to end. It's going to continue past our lifetime.